piece he wrote that you brought up about Joel Embiid, that he could be more popular than Carson Wentz, KC Joyner. Do you believe that that's possible, that another athlete in the city of Philadelphia, can be more popular than Carson Wentz? Is that possible?
If it is, it's a short-term possibility because Carson Wentz keeps playing like he's going to play. People are going to be like, Donovan who? Ron Jaworski who? He might be the greatest quarterback in Eagles history by the end of the season, the way things are going in Eagles fans.
Wow. As you write over at ESPN.com in the Insider section, Casey, that the Carson Wentz hype train is running at full speed. And I know last week you were on, said you've been doing this for 14 years. He may be the best rookie quarterback that you've ever seen. Now, in that time that we've talked, you wrote this article because you broke down a lot of tape on him in this last week. Talk about a few things that really stand out about this in-depth piece that you wrote.
The biggest thing that stands out is that he has a 0% bad decision rate. Bad decision rate measures how often the quarterback makes a mental error that leads to a turnover opportunity. I took a look at him and compared him to the other three, what I consider best rookie quarterbacks in the 14 years I've been doing this, which would be Sam Bradford, Robert Griffin III, and Cam Newton. Those would be the three best. Everybody else kind of falls behind them. And when you look at, he's the only one of those three, that 0% bad decision rate that he has is better than the other guys. Newton's the only guy to be even close. But I looked at a number of other metrics, too. Vertical production, stretch work production when you're under duress from the defense. And you could basically pick your category. And it's only 3 games now, but Wentz beats all those rookies in all those categories. So he's on the kind of pace right now that could be a record-setting season.
One thing with him is, as you talk about his decision-making, a lot of it is so interesting because now, one of the reasons it seems so interesting is because the decisions he makes aren't rush decisions. It's not quick decisions. They're all over. Sometimes there's a rush. He gets it out of his hand quickly. But other times there's a rush, and he just kind of casually gets himself out of the pocket. I mean, that sounds more of like an instinctual, innate ability that's not something that you can teach somebody.
Yeah, the fact that he doesn't feel the pass rush. I mean, one of the metrics that I was measuring in that article was production under duress. Duress, there's a lot of things that can cause, they can be fall under the duress definition, but it's basically whenever a quarterback doesn't have a clean pocket and there's some kind of pass rush pressure coming out of him. He's had a 90.6 total QBR. That's an ESPN metric that measures overall quarterback production. It's based on a 1 to 100 scale where 100 is just as good as you can get. So you're talking under duress, this rookie quarterback has a 90.6 total QBR. He's at the 90th percentile. He's doing fantastic. And the thing is, it's not only just inside the pocket. His production outside the pocket, you'd think comparing him to the three rookie quarterbacks I mentioned, Bradford, Griffin, and Newton, you'd think that, outside the pocket, those guys are going to be great. Well, so far, Wentz's production outside of the pocket in total QBR is better than the other three. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if he's in the pocket or out of the pocket. He's making great plays.
Yeah, KC Joyner is with us. Check out his full piece on Carson Wentz over at ESPN.com in the Insider section. A couple other things in this article which really goes in depth about him because I guess he's that kind of guy that you would go in depth on the way he's playing. He just got named Offensive Player of the Week. He's also been named the NFC Rookie of the Month for the month of September here. 3 games in. But he's not doing it himself, Casey, as you write. He's getting some help here. What are some of the things that are happening that he is getting help that is helping him out?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is run blocking. The running game is really strong. Philadelphia last year ranked 4th in the league in a metric I have called good blocking rate. It measures how often an offense gives its ball carriers quality run blocking. It's an important metric because if you get good run blocking league-wide, backs are 5 times as productive on those plays as they are when they get bad run blocking. So Philadelphia last year ranks 4th with a 42.2% good blocking rate. This year they're at a 43.3% rate. I mean, they're blocking even better this year than they did last year when they were doing pretty well. And you add that to what they're doing on defense, it means that Wentz doesn't have to feel the pressure to do it all by himself. That'll probably change down the road. He's going to have some games where he's going to have that pressure, but so far he hasn't been put into that situation.
KC Joyner looking at Carson Wentz here. Now, so far, he played the Browns, he played the Bears, he played the Steelers. None of those 3 teams, even the Steelers included, are really the steel curtain or the 85 Bears, the 86 Giants here. That's not to say that, well, when he sees a good defense, he's just going to fold here. But how much of that is factored in?
Yeah, the Steelers are last in the league in sacks. I mean, the Steelers they're very good defense overall, but they're not a kind of defense that is making a lot of impact plays. They basically keep you underneath them and then just hit you and break you down that way. So Wentz did well in that situation. I think he's going to do well in Week 5 and 6 because the Eagles have Detroit and Washington on the schedule, and those two teams rank in the bottom 4 of the league in total QBR allowed. So I think he'll do very well there. I'll be curious to see how he does against Minnesota in Week 7, because we saw what Minnesota did to Cam Newton this past week. 8 sacks, 3 interceptions. They were just all over him. And Philadelphia will probably give Wentz better protection than Carolina gave Newton, but still, it'd be curious to see, because that's an elite defense that can force its will. So I'll be curious to see how Philadelphia and how Wentz does there, because that's kind of the barometer as to, has he hit the wall.
All right, read that full article over at ESPN.com in the Insider section. KC Joyner, you can get that on his Twitter as well, at KC Joyner TFS. Just click on the link there so you can read the full article, because it is really a good one. And one of the interesting things, I guess one of the Steelers defensive ends, Cameron Hayward, told Jeremy Fowler, who we had on the show last week, who basically said this guy was like a freaking Hall of Famer last week, the way he played.
Yeah, I said he was the best rookie I'd ever seen, or could be. I said he might be the best rookie I've ever seen. And, man, Twitter blew up and told me you're crazy, you're nuts, all these different things. Hey, I didn't put the guy in Canton just yet, so at least I had a cap somewhere.
Well, I know a lot of people are kind of inching him that way, right? I mean, I think he has people. Some people are surveying real estate in that area for about 17 years down the road here, but hopefully he continues on that path. All right, let's look at some of the matchups. Not a great schedule this week, but some intriguing ones. One of them that I want to start with is Dallas against San Francisco. You look at the Cowboys, they're going to go on the road. And I said before, Casey, if they want to be a realistic contender, this is the kind of game you have to win. If you only, if you're not expected to win every road game, but you got to pick up 2 or 3 if you want to be in the mix there. This is the kind of game that Dallas, you would think, has to win if they want to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. It is not only how they step up and play, but can the run defense play well, because Carlos Hyde has been up or down this year, and Dallas is near the bottom of the league in yards per attempt allowed on the ground. They need to be able to stop Hyde, because they can stop Hyde. Look, San Francisco doesn't have much else on offense, and even if you don't have Dez Bryant, the Cowboys have a much more talented offense, much more talented team than San Francisco. So, yeah, this is a game where if they don't play to their talent level and win this game, then you start asking questions about the coach as to, hey, these are matchups you should win. If you can't do that, I start thinking maybe I get a different coach.
Okay, so Dez Bryant, how does he affect their offense with him, potentially not being there, and maybe long term? I mean, to me, that injury sounds long term. They're kind of making it like, well, it could be he could play this week. I don't know how you play with a hairline fracture in your kneecap, but that's just me. How does that change their offense without him?
Yeah, I don't think he would play, but he was only thrown 5 stretch vertical passes before the injury. Stretch vertical being pass thrown 20 more yards downfield, and he was thrown 4, and Prescott only attempted 5. So it's not like the Cowboys were using the stretch vertical game, and if he's not there, they just need to be able to make the defense think they're going to go deep. Williams is a really fast receiver, so he's a guy who can at least decoy that. So, but it's not been a big part of their offense so far. And as long as Elliott keeps playing well, I think that they'll miss Bryant, obviously, but I don't think they'll miss him quite that much.
All right, let's look at. This one's very kind of interesting to me, because Oakland and Baltimore's undefeated, and they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit, and I think people don't take them as serious because of last year, but they had so many injuries last year. So, and then you got Oakland, who people were kind of taking serious, and then they lost that game against New Orleans, and I think people go, it's just the Raiders, but here they are now. But I think this is kind of a game for both teams to kind of to form an identity of who they are.
Yeah, Oakland, their defense is playing well below its talent level. They've been making mistakes. They've been making mental errors, so that's a big problem for them. Baltimore is not nearly as good as their record or their metrics would suggest. This is a big test for them. It's another one of those where the Raiders, this is similar to that Cowboys game we're talking about. The Raiders going on the road, they need to be able to prove that they can play to that talent level, because if they don't play to their talent level, Baltimore can win the game. But Baltimore has no running game. They might have the worst running game in the league. They're not getting good blocking or getting production when they get good blocking. Their passing game is nil. They have weaknesses in their secondary, including Sharice Wright. So, I mean, this is ripe for Oakland to pull off a road victory, but it's going to be an interesting game.
All right, Carolina's at Atlanta. I think kind of similar for Atlanta because they're like in the Oakland world. They're kind of like 2-1, but I don't think anybody believes in them. But Carolina's 1-2. I mean, this is defending NFC. They've lost more games this year than they lost all of last year if you take the Super Bowl out of it. So I guess this is kind of a prove-it game for both these teams.
Yeah, if I'm Atlanta, I mean, they've got the best 1-2 running back combination in the league. They've got some great run blocking, too, by the way. They're near the top of the league in good blocking rate. So it's not just that they've got good running backs. They're getting good run blocking. And Carolina, they're not hitting the vertical passes. I'd be curious to see if Carolina, what they do with Benjamin, because the Falcons will try and stop Benjamin the way that Minnesota did last week. The Falcons don't have the kind of defenders that the Vikings did, so I don't think they'll be able to do that. But I think that Carolina's going to try and force, or Newton's going to try and force a lot of passes to Benjamin's side. So I'll be curious to see if Atlanta might be able to bait him into a couple of picks, because I think they could pull off the win in that one.
I think I agree that Atlanta, Matt Ryan's played really well. But I was surprised last week. I can't believe this, by the way, Monday night, which I don't think a whole heck of a lot of people paid attention to that game. Julio Jones had like one catch in that game when they scored 45.
They didn't need him. They as good as they were doing elsewhere, and of course, schematically, you're going to try and shut down Julio. They didn't need him. I think he's a little banged up too. So I think Atlanta just said, "Hey, we can go elsewhere because we basically knew it was as bad as New Orleans was on defense. We can just take our pick."
Hey, on Wednesday's show, we do a segment called the Fine Five and the Ugly Five, where we rank the 5 best and the 5 worst teams. I have the Saints as my worst team in the league. Is that a fair statement?
Given their injury situation, I would agree. When they get healthier, probably not. But given where they were injury-wise, yeah, absolutely. Because as many injuries as they have in the defense, a Bro out, and they lost P.J. Williams. I mean, they're down. They were already bad at cornerback in the first place, and now they're even worse. But their offense, though, that's the thing. When you've got Breeze and you've got what their offense can do, that puts them, I think, ahead of maybe San Francisco and Cleveland and Miami. But they're bottom 5. Yeah, I definitely put them bottom 5.
Yeah, no, and look, it's a week-to-week poll. It could change as you get healthier or lose guys. But right now, the way they play defense, I judge teams based on defense more than anything. If you're the best 5, it's typically because I think your defense is the best. If you're the worst 5, it's because I think your defense is the worst. That's the worst defense I've ever watched, I think, the other night.
Is that worse than last year?
Well, touche. All right, let me skip over to a couple other games here. Intrigued by this one. Kansas City, Pittsburgh. How does Pittsburgh rebound? This is a night game. Kansas City, which another team that just kind of flies under the radar here. I mean, they won 11 straight to end last year. Now they're 2-1. I don't think people take them all that serious either. But this is going to be really interesting to see how Pittsburgh rebounds.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. First off, Kansas City showed last week that their defense, which had kind of not played to its last year's level the first couple weeks, they had something to do with Fitzpatrick throwing 6 interceptions. That wasn't all Fitzpatrick. I mean, he made mistakes and the receivers dropped some passes too, but that defense is really good and they can do that sort of thing. Thing is that Pittsburgh's going to be able to throw the ball against them some, I think. But the most curious matchup I see, Kansas City's been near the top of the league in good blocking rate. Pittsburgh, prior to last week, was a dominant run defense. I'm curious to see Kansas City, if they can lean on the running game, and if Pittsburgh can get the scoreboard to the point to where Kansas City can't lean on the running game. So if they can get if they get a 10-0 lead or maybe a 13-3 lead, something like that, and Kansas City's got to start throwing the ball, game over.
All right, let's look at this one where right now L.A. is in first place in the West. Newsflash. Arizona 1-2, got beat on the road in Buffalo. Very surprising. Is Arizona got problems, and is this game going to be one of them?
Arizona does have problems. I'm not sure that this game will be one of them as long as Arizona is healthy enough in the receiving corps, because John Brown's not been healthy this year. Floyd's been banged up. They've got Fitz, but if that team can't go vertical, that team usually can't win. Having said that, the Los Angeles offense, it played better last week, but Tampa will make you look a lot better. Their defense might rival New Orleans for the worst in the league, at least in the pass defense. So I don't think Los Angeles is going to be able to throw the football nearly as well as they did last week, and I think Arizona's passing game is going to get going. So I think Arizona wins that one, but L.A. still, I think they're going to stay in the playoff hunt for a while.
Interesting. They do get good defense, and we'll see, does Jared Goff ever get on the field? Will they succumb to the rookie quarterback pressures that are going on around him with all the success around the league with rookie quarterbacks? All right, here's one for you, KC. How about Washington at home? They won last week. The Browns have been fighting. They probably should be 2-1 in reality, and instead they're kind of still a laughingstock. But if Washington wants to be taken serious, you have got to win this game. But can Cleveland, they've been fighting, can they pull off an upset on the road?
Cleveland's got something. They're creative in their play calling. They got a great performance at a prior last week. I think they can hit some long plays against the Washington secondary that is not that good. Only thing is that, I mean, Washington, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but when you look at the tape, Washington really didn't win that game as much as Eli lost it. I mean, bad Eli showed up, and that's what, the Giants fans know what that happens when that happens. And I think that if you've got Cody Kessler under center, Kessler could be more like bad Eli. So, but if Kessler protects the football, I think they've got a puncher's chance in that one.
I don't disagree with you there. I think they at least play hard. I mean, again, going back to the ugly five, they play hard. I don't know what the Saints are doing out there. I mean, at least Cleveland shows some effort and that they have a chance. I know that New Orleans has a shot, but one of the reasons they're in the position they're in because they look like they don't play hard.
Yeah, that's true. Cleveland does play very hard. You're going to get that out of Hugh Jackson. Also, Cleveland's getting Hayden too. So Cleveland got Hayden back recently, so that certainly helped their secondary having him in there. I don't think he's quite the shutdown corner everybody thinks he is, but getting him in the lineup is a big upgrade.
All right, a couple more here. KC Joyner looking at these week 4 matchups here. Let's not fast forward too fast. All right, the Giants Monday night they're going to play the Vikings. I think the Vikings might be the best defense in the league, even though the statistics would kind of suggest Philadelphia is better, at least points per game. I think the Giants are going to have their hands full in this one.
Minnesota's going to be able to rush the passer. Donnell Hunter, he's one of the Vikings pass rushers. He was an elite talent at LSU, but really, really raw. He didn't have his pass rushing skills down. He didn't have he was trying all physical skill instead of mechanics. Minnesota's helped him with that, and he's going to be he could be a double-digit sack guy this year. They've got terrific corners. They've got been getting great safety play, and I still think Minnesota's doing as well as it's doing, and their run blocking is still near the bottom of the league. They haven't got their run blocking in order. They will get it in order. It might even get it in order in this game. And you think about that. They've got the defense playing like it is. Bradford playing as well as he can play, although he didn't have a great first half, as well as he can play, and you get that running game in order. This could be the best team in the league about that time we hit about midseason.
All right, a couple quickies. Thoughts from KC. Does Buffalo have any shot?
Hey, if they can run the ball like they did last week, yeah, they would have a shot. If New England's playing a 4-string quarterback or you're playing Edelman under center, yeah, sure. You give me those circumstances, yes, they got a chance.
All right, Seattle traveling across the country to play the Jets, who threw 6 picks last week. But Seattle's got their own issues. So does New York rebound this week?
As long as Wilson is healthy, I think Seattle will be able to make that trip because New York is just doing too many things in Crockett. I believe they're last in the league in yards per attempt allowed. And I know some of that is the big passes that Revis gave up, or actually one of them was Revis, and the safety gave it up. But, look, they've got so many issues that I think Seattle, as long as Wilson's healthy, they'll win that one.
How much does Watt influence, changed Houston's outlook?
He hasn't. He's been good this year, but he hasn't been great, and they've been playing great defense. I think it takes them a step down from being the top defense, maybe if they play well, to a top 5 defense. They've got a ton of talent. They still have Clowney. They still have a number of other players. I don't think it's just a Watt-centric defense only. I think they're still going to be a strong enough defense to get into the playoffs.
My producer and I debated yesterday the level of talent on Tennessee because I believe they're one of the worst teams in the league and one of the least talented teams in the league. Do you think Tennessee can go on the road and have a chance in this one?
I think they're just an incomplete talent team. Mariota's good. They've got good running backs in Henry and Murray. Walker's a top tight end. Their run blocking is better than it was last year, which is a relative measurement because they were one of the worst in the league last year. Their defense is improved over last year. I think they're still a bottom 10 team rather than a bottom 5 team.
All right, Tennessee, Houston, and last one on the Sunday schedule that we'll take a look at is, this is a really interesting game when you look at Denver going on the road to Tampa Bay because Tampa's given up 101 points this year. 40 of them came in one game, but I thought that Tampa team would be better this year, and I thought Denver would be worse, and roles reversed.
Tampa is one of the worst secondaries in the league. They might have the worst set of safeties in the NFL. Again, they made the Rams offense look positively explosive last week. Simeon threw 4 touchdown passes last week. It wouldn't shock me if he threw 3 touchdown passes this week, maybe 4. I wouldn't be shocked if he was able to repeat that. I mean, because they got really good receivers.
Are you going to be writing a piece about him soon? I mean, is he that surprising?
I'll be running it past my editors and see what they say, sure.
All right, KC Joyner with us. That's our look at the NFL. Of course, KC also covers the WWE for ESPN.com as well, and he's got a really intriguing piece up there right now. KC Joyner's #1 rule for getting over with the fans.
Yeah, it's a Getting Over series. I'm going to be covering the psychological rules that pro wrestling uses to impact fans. This very first rule, though, is the one that really drives all the rest of the rules, and it explains how no matter what wrestling, what they're doing in wrestling, no matter what they're trying to do, it's always to draw an audience. It's always to draw a paying audience. And it gives some of the history of how that is. In fact, it gives the history. I'll tell you, it talks about Bronco Nagurski and a guy named Jim Lundas, who was the biggest, maybe the biggest babyface of the 20th century, arguably, and how they could make it to where a 5'6", 200-pound Jim Lundas could beat Bronco Nagurski and get it over.
Great stuff that you guys are doing with the WWE over there. We heard Billy Corgan from TNA earlier on the Levitard show. So a lot of pro wrestling kind of crossing over into the mainstream at ESPN.com. KC Joyner is one of the guys that is bringing it to you. Thanks, pal.
Appreciate it.